watching. You are watching.
You're watching. You guys are watching.
You're watching. Soulful discussion.
Oh, hi. How you doing today?
I'm good. I'm actually outside for the first time today.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Okay.
So I was working at my computer and
So
needed a break.
like a refreshing break and getting some air, right?
Yeah.
So how did our paths just cross right now? How did we just meet?
So you approached me and asked if I would be in a video for your YouTube channel, and I said no.
Yeah.
And we started chatting just about what your channel was, and I decided that I would like to check it out, and I thought it seemed interesting what you were doing, and I really liked how just passionate and curious you seemed, and and then I asked my intuition if it was a good idea to to do it, and it said yeah.
Absolutely.
So
You should definitely always check with yourself, ask yourself those
Yeah.
questions just to make sure. Especially because you said you had a pretty bad experience recently, right?
yeah.
And so what did I ask you about? What are we going to be talking about today?
So we're going to be talking about mental health, anxiety, depression, and feet and reflexology.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And so in terms of the mental health, right, are there any subjects that you research, you follow closely that, you kind of keep a handle on?
Yeah, I follow anxiety
Okay.
very closely, anxiety, panic attacks. We chatted a little bit. I said I've been doing a lot of research into somatic experiencing, which is a anxiety treatment technique, and I think just overall wellness and well-being as well.
Okay. In terms of reflexology, are you familiar with it? Have you heard of it before? Or?
Yeah, so I've been to a reflexology practitioner, but
okay.
I didn't know exactly what they were doing. It was more like the overall foot massage, and they get different points, but there wasn't like a specific reason I was there, except more just to I'm like, I can't believe I'm saying this on camera. I have very tight feet.
Okay.
So I used to work with a personal trainer who said my warm-up needed to always include rolling my foot out on a lacrosse
on
ball.
The little balls,
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
That's cool. So I'll provide some information. Maybe it'll be some stuff you already heard. Maybe it'll be a little bit more in depth, but we'll talk about that when we get to that portion, okay? So let's start with the questions, okay?
Okay.
What's something that you like that other people might find to be weird? And I'm using the term weird for a reason. It could just be a hobby you have that other people might find to be strange.
That other people might find to be strange.
Yeah.
So there's two hobbies I've picked up in the pandemic, which a lot of people like, but also some people think are strange. So one is chess, and I know it's a very prolific game. I love it, but and I guess there was the Queen's Gambit, so that got some popularity with that. But a lot of people think it's too hard or something.
Yeah.
It's actually
really good, especially for the brain to stretch those muscles out and come up with strategies and how to get out of problem solving things like that.
Yeah. So it's good, and the other one is pickleball, which is it's a paddle sport. I think people think it's weird because of the name. It's a really cool sport, but when you say you play pickleball, people are like, "What is that? It sounds made up." But yeah, so I guess those are the two.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Has anyone ever made you feel insecure about your body or a body part before?
Oh, of course.
Okay. Now, is that something you're still dealing with, or do you kind of have a control over it now?
I would say I'm still dealing with it.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. How do you what are the steps that you take to cope with it? Because it's still something you're dealing with. So how do you cope your way through it?
I mean, I think the best tool I have is I have a lot of really close female friendships, and where we can have really open discussions and dialogues. Yeah.
Absolutely. Yeah, that always helps, having good friends that can sometimes tell you if you're overthinking things, to no, it's not that. You're good. So
yeah.
That's absolutely great. If there was one thing you could change about yourself, right, and it doesn't have to be physical, what would it be?
There's one thing I could change about myself. So I can be sometimes impulsive, so that's why I stopped and paused.
Yeah,
but
absolutely.
sometimes I'll have habits where I'll say like, don't do that, don't do that, don't do that, and then I do it anyways. So I think I would be better able to listen to that.
Yeah.
Don't do that.
Like
Don't
you
do
said,
that.
That intuition, right?
That intuition, and just not doing things that aren't in my best interest. And they're always small. It's not
anything that's really big.
Anything that's really big, but it's like an example would be complaining about something that I know will feel good to complain about for a second, but then afterwards I'll just feel bad about like the negativity makes me feel bad. So I'll start my day and say like, okay, don't do it, and then I'll do it.
Okay.
Yeah.
So let's get into these questions now. How do you feel about your feet? What are your thoughts?
My feet. So yeah, I mentioned they're
You said they're
tight. They're tight.
So you have to do exercises to
to loosen them up.
Okay.
And and actually I haven't been doing those lately, and I can feel it through my body, my legs and hips when I'm not doing it. So they're kind of tight, and otherwise I don't know, I'm glad I have feet, and I like to exercise and walk around, so usually I'm pretty happy that they take me where I want to go.
Yeah, and so I always ask that question, and so like you'll see as I'm asking these questions, these are like to gauge like where you fall in terms of like how much you pay attention to it.
Yeah.
Some people pay more attention to it, some people don't. But in terms of feet, like it's the foundation, right, that holds us up. And so to see if people like care about them that much, or if it's just more of a, well, I have feet, and it's one of those things.
Yeah.
So I like to get the different reactions for that. Have you ever received any compliments on your feet before?
Not that I can recall.
Okay. How would you feel if you did receive a compliment? Like somebody's in passing, they say that you have nice feet. What are the thoughts? How would you feel about that?
I think I would think it was weird.
You think it's weird?
Yeah.
Now, why is that? Is it because it's an uncommon like compliment to give?
I think, it's an uncommon compliment to give, and maybe then it feels like someone was like looking closely at me and observing me, and then I think it would just catch me off guard.
So let me ask you this: so whenever I get that, I always throw this back.
Yeah.
So is there a difference in like if somebody approached you and they said you had nice hair, nice eyes, nice hands, or anything like that? Is that different, or is that pretty much the same? Because it's still pointing out something, right?
Yeah. I mean, I think if any stranger approached me and commented on my appearance, I would think it was a little weird.
I see.
And again, I think it's just like living in big cities, like most interactions, like we kind of learned like not to talk to strangers. But maybe I would feel it was less weird if it were one of those things.
Okay.
Yeah.
So I always ask that because I'm like, to get into like the mental aspect of it, like why is that? Because any compliment that's pointing something out is pretty much the same, but I feel like because in society, like feet have been like painted as like something with negative connotations, and it has negative attachments to it, people automatically look at it as something weird. So that's why I have this dialogue so that I can get you to think about it.
Yeah. Have you ever seen the episode of Sex and the City, which
I did watch Sex and the City for a minute with my ex-girlfriend, where she used to love that.
Okay. There's an episode where this guy is really into feet, and he's giving away free shoes to see them on a woman. So they paint him as very odd. Yeah. And I just think like that represents how a lot of, that's not my image, but I think it's like the pop culture representation is along those lines. It's not just from that show, but the show did what, I don't know.
Because I think there's levels to like, so there are people who are like just foot appreciators, like they just appreciate like women who has nice feet and they get their nails done and stuff like that. Then there's people who there's a level above that where it gets into more crazier stuff. So and that's with anything, right?
With anything, 100%.
So in terms of compliments, right? Not just the compliments about your feet, but compliments in general that you get from men and women. Is there a difference in how you feel about them, like when you get them from those two parties?
Yes, I think that I'm trying to think yes, there's a difference.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
And I'll throw you something. So one of the women who I interviewed before, she mentioned that a lot of times, like, women from a young age are kind of taught to be in competition and hate on each other. So when you get older and you receive compliments from other women, like, you hold it at a higher regard and you feel that it's more sincere, as opposed to compliments you may get from men, where a lot of times they're just giving you compliments because they want something in return. Like, is that accurate? Do you feel like that's pretty much on point, or is that?
Yeah, I think there's something to it. I don't know if that's exactly how I describe it, but I think what I relate to is I feel if I get a compliment from a woman, it's more genuine, and when I get a compliment from a man, I'm just more on guard about it. Yeah.
Now, in terms of if you started dating someone who's into feet, I don't know if you're married or anything like that, but if you did start dating someone who's into feet, would that be something you're okay with, or would that be something more like maybe you have to take a pause for a moment to like look at that, or how would you feel?
I mean, I guess I would want to be, I mean, it's all hypothetical.
Yeah.
Be open-minded and
I'll put it into context too, because so he's not obsessed like the guy from Sex and the City. We're saying, like, so he loves you for who you are, right?
Yeah.
He likes you, but he just likes feet. And like, is that something that's okay with you? Like, and what I'm saying, like, he wants to give you like foot massages and rub on your feet, kiss on your feet, things like that. Is that stuff you'd be okay with, or is that more like maybe it would take you some time to adjust to it?
I'm like, I don't know if I'm okay answering this question on camera. I mean, I think it's like every person is different, and I think every person should be able to express the things they love in healthy and consensual ways.
Absolutely.
I know that's a bit of an evasive answer, but
no, it's okay.
Yeah.
And if you ever feel uncomfortable with any of the questions, just tell me pass, and we'll move on to the next question. So don't even worry about it. And when you first start dating someone, when do you think is the appropriate time for you to talk about like things that you're into, like in terms of that?
I think pass.
Okay.
Yeah.
Cool. How did you get pedicures?
Oh, well, I used to get them, I would say, monthly or every other month, and then the pandemic came and I didn't get one for a year and a half.
Oh, wow. Okay.
And so I finally got one about a month ago.
Okay.
And I was embarrassed to go because I hadn't been in so long.
Okay.
So, and I actually, like, I mean, I'll always say, like, oh, I need one. I don't know if I actually, it's a need, but I feel that I would feel better if I had one.
Right? Now, have you ever heard of medical pedicures before?
No.
And that's like when you go see like a podiatrist. Basically, they take a look at your feet and they look at your nails and make sure they're growing correctly. They check your toe alignment to make sure it's aligned correctly. Take care of any dead skin you may have. Make sure you have any fungus. They do all the work there. And I got that information from a lady who I interviewed way back. She told me about it. So passing it on. They say you should go see somebody like that maybe every 3 months, just for the upkeep, because like our bodies are, you know, to compare it to something kind of like cars where we have to keep the maintenance up.
Yeah.
So that down the road it's not as bad. So would that be something that you would look into in terms of like, because maybe that's an alternative to going to get the cosmetic, or is just taking care? Would that be something?
Yeah, I'd never heard of it, but I would look into it.
Yeah.
So
actually, one of the guys that watched my channel, when he heard me talk about it, he said he went out and got it done, and the guy said it was a good thing he came in, because usually you should go earlier, so that way later on in life you don't have those problems. Because he's like, some people wait until later on, they got all these problems and stuff, and it's too late. So
what's considered later on in life?
Well, I'm guessing like when you start to have like actual problems, like when your feet start to tell you have problems, like as opposed to you going before that.
Yeah.
Yeah. And so that's what he was saying. So I was like, cool. I'm gonna pass that information along. How do you wear like open toe shoes, sandals, flip flops, things like that?
I mean, right now I'd say I wear them all the time.
Because of the weather.
Yeah, because of the weather.
Pretty hot.
Yeah.
How often do you go barefoot?
Outside?
Just in general.
Oh, well, I I don't like wearing shoes in the house.
Okay.
So outside I always have shoes on, but inside I almost always have shoes off.
Have you ever heard of grounding, earthing?
Yeah, like standing in the ground. And
Have you ever tried it before?
Yeah, actually, it's one of the things they do in somatic experiencing, which I mentioned.
Sweet, because it's a part of reflexology too.
Really?
So so people who do it feel like when they do it, they get energy back from the earth that like runs through their body. And it's those pressure points that we have at the bottom of our feet and stuff that like that energy runs through. So
I believe it.
Yeah.
I believe it. I was listening to a podcast the other day, and I don't know, some person who's like a big speaker or whatever said it before they speak, they touch a tree.
Yeah.
Just to get grounding and energy from the tree.
So one of the ladies I interviewed, she actually, before I ran into her, she told me she was grounding and she was hugging a tree. She said that she got that information from somebody to start doing that just to get that energy back.
Yeah.
Like that. So
that's
pretty dope. That's pretty dope.
Yeah. And these trees are amazing.
Yeah, these are, old, you can see like all the life, like the long life that they lived and everything. It's amazing.
Yeah.
All right, and so now, can we sit with your feet back up close? Is that something that you can be comfortable with?
I'm not comfortable with it, yeah.
And why not? Let me get the dialogue in terms of the
why not?
Yeah.
I think because, like I said, I need a pedicure.
Okay.
And I just,
Okay.
Um.
So let me throw in the mental health for what got me started in this, right?
Yeah.
Then we'll come back around and see how you feel, okay? So, have you ever heard of DBT before?
DB, is that dialectical? Yeah.
Behavioral therapy?
Yeah.
Right? And so it's for people who suffer from like anxiety and depression.
Yeah.
Usually for people who like don't live in the moment, like they overthink the situations they're presented with. And so what therapists usually prescribe for these people is to go out and put themselves in those uncomfortable situations. So like if you had a fear of approaching strangers, to go out and approach strangers, right?
Yeah.
So it's exposure therapy, getting yourself used to like the uncomfortable feelings that come with it.
Yeah.
So that you can do a self-assessment during those moments when you feel that and ask yourself like, what's the worst thing that's going to happen in this situation that I'm feeling, right? Yeah. And so if you do all that in the self-assessment and you see like there's nothing that's going to be a threat to your life or to your safety, that you do the opposite of what you're feeling, right? So if you're feeling like withdrawing, you go for it. And you may experience like good events, good months, but at the end of the day, what it's all about is that you're living with the experience about that you went through it. It's more past, past those fears. So usually my interviews when I'm going like this and I'm going down the line and I approach this point, it's to see like, can you continue to still be comfortable? So we know, like you said, you're not having a feet pedicure, things like that, but it's more or less to see like, can you still be comfortable during it? Now, if you can't, it's fine. Let me know and we'll keep moving on with the questions. Is that something you can be comfortable with or you can't?
I think that being on a YouTube video is already so far out of my comfort zone that that's enough for today.
So you gotta take step by step.
Yeah, step by step.
I understand that. So in terms of the experience so far, what are your thoughts so far? How are you feeling? And be honest. If you're feeling a little bit like
I think part of me is like, oh my gosh, I'm gonna be on the internet. Like, what did I hope I sounded okay and didn't.
You'll be fine.
Yeah.
I think a lot of times like we overthink like that because we're worried about what other people are gonna say or.
Yeah, and that's a lot of how my mind operates day to day.
And absolutely fine. Don't worry about it.
So there's that, and then I think there's also a piece of just like that I trusted it would be okay, and I can continue to trust that it would be okay. Cool. And it's interesting what you're doing, and it's interesting to meet someone new randomly and learn about a whole new field of things.
So let's jump into reflexology and then we'll wrap things up. Okay, so reflexology deals with the different pressure points we have in our hands and feet. Yeah. And those pressure points like correlate back to other parts of our body. Yeah. And through massage, like acupuncture, acupressure, you can actually alleviate like stress and tension to like different parts of your body. They actually call it zone therapy. So it's like you have all these different zones that your foot are made of. Like you pull up a chart. Yeah. Actually, I'm gonna start carrying a chart around with me. But when you pull up a chart, like it'll show you like there's a portion for your head, a portion for your lungs, and a portion for your shoulders and things like that. Yeah. You said you've had some of that done before, but you didn't really know in depth like what you were doing.
Yeah, they had a chart up on the wall. I think it's I've had a lot of different types of body work done,
Yeah.
and with the reflexology, I think because I didn't know what I was doing as much, like I run very anxious, so I had a little bit of anxiety, but at the same time, 'cause my feet are tight,
Yeah.
like it did release
some of that tension.
And I really, I like different practices that relieve tension. I tend to carry a lot of tightness.
Sweet.
Yeah.
Okay. So let's wrap up the interview now.
Okay.
In terms of my approach, when I came over to you, and I know it's shocking because I'm like a stranger and I walked up.
Yeah.
But besides that, how was my approach? Was it good? Was it bad? What did you think about it?
I thought it was. I'm like, okay, how did you approach? So you came and you asked if I'd be in a video for your YouTube channel, and then you said if you're busy, no worries about it. I mean, I think you were very friendly. You like at a distance, so from someone you don't know, I'm trying to think of what you did specifically, but I think it's more just the how you approached it, and then we ended up just having a conversation. Yeah, with no pressure at all. That I kind of got my bearings. But it's all, I mean, and like I said, it must be hard to go around asking people to be in videos, because everyone, like I said, I just had a really bad experience with someone in the park, and everyone's had some kind of thing like that. So I think the way you did it was good. If I were to suggest anything, and I don't know if this is any better or not, I'd say you might just maybe say a little something about oh, I'm a student of this, and I make it but I don't know if that would have been any different. I'm just
because it's different.
riffing.
So sometimes I do that, and it doesn't really make a difference.
Yeah, it probably doesn't.
I just try to approach, and I just try to provide as much information as needed up front. Yeah. And that's it. But I don't want to give the interview away, because it's more about getting a raw reaction from you. And
I mean, it's you trust your experience. You've been doing this. I've never done this. So
I think you're my 86th person that
oh wow.
86 interview.
Wow.
So,
How long have you been doing this?
I started about 2.5 months ago. So I think that this will be the 11th week.
Wow.
So almost
86 and 11 weeks.
Yeah.
Wow.
Well, because I try to go out and I'll try to stay out for a pretty good amount of time and just try to see what I get.
Yeah. That's very cool.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
So in terms of the interview, right, from start to finish, did you see how everything was going in the line? Did it make sense to you? And did you learn anything new from the information that was provided?
Yeah, everything made sense. I thought the interview was it felt really easy for me. The questions were easy, the pace felt good, and I really liked your approach. I think one of the things I learned for myself was actually how you walked me through what was going on as it was going on. Yeah. I'm like, oh, that's a good technique for me to think in my own work of how can I, help people in different types of meetings and conversations. And in terms of the topic itself, I learned about medical pedicures. I learned a little bit more about reflexology, just kind of how it's used, and I guess I think it maybe made me consider just what my own preconceptions are about people and feet.
Absolutely. That's what I'm here to do, trying to get rid of those negative feelings that people may have towards that, so that they can feel more confident. Because a lot of women too don't feel confident in their own feet. Yeah. They're just I've met one woman who was she does not wear open toe shoes at all, because she's afraid that she may step in some water or something like that. She has a fear of her own feet or whatever like that. Yeah. And so I approached her and we talked about it, and she was able to work out some stuff with that. Learning at least that she had some fears about that. So I meet some people who have insecurities about their feet, and when I talk to them about it, what am I worried about? Everybody has something that they're you know, that might not be perfect about them. So like, what am I worried about? And so like, to get people to see that and just like talk through it. So it's pretty interesting.
Yeah.
So last thing that I have everybody do that does the interview, from a mental health standpoint, a life lesson that maybe you learned, some wise words of wisdom that you can share with my channel that could be helpful to them.
Just in general?
Yeah, whatever you want.
Yeah, I think that I mentioned that I like to think about things or maybe overthink about things, but I don't actually enjoy it.
Mm-hmm.
So one of the lessons that I've been working on is really like coming back to the moment and using tools like grounding, breathing, and other things just to say, here I am. And I think the big tip is when I don't know something, just pausing and taking a second to like ask, you know, myself, not necessarily my brain, but like my intuition, or just kind of like, okay, like what's going on here? Are things okay? And instead of just acting before pausing. Yeah.
And I like the fact that you did that, because sometimes like I'll get people, like I interviewed one lady, I think like a week or two ago, and as I started to go through the interview, like immediately she got like just uncomfortable with like the questions I was asking. And I can understand, like, for some people they're more conservative or whatever like that, and I get it. But like I didn't feel like I was asking anything that was too invasive, because all I'm asking for is like a base of like what your opinion is, not so much like what your experiences are, just what's your opinion on this, and that's it. But she just didn't feel comfortable when she got up and walked away, and I was just like, okay, like and I just start over. But thank you so much. I appreciate you taking the time to like sit down with me and do the interview, and we hope that you have a great one. Okay?
Yeah, thanks. You got me to try something different.
Try something different, right?
Exactly.
Have a great one.
Thanks, you too.